All right, what's going on, you guys? Brian here with a quick recap of Impact Wrestling episode for tonight. So let's just get into it. A little bit of news concerning tomorrow night's AEW Dynamite. Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, because of what happened last week with them attacking uh, the Jurassic Express and cutting off Luchasaurus's horns, or trying to, that they have been suspended for 1 week and will not be involved in that tag team battle royal that will be also involving the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, because if the Bucks win, then they get to choose who they want to face at Revolution, and if one of the other teams win the battle royal next tomorrow night on Dynamite, um, then they challenge the Young Bucks for the tag team titles at Revolution. So FTR are out of the Battle Royal, and they will be replaced by John Silver and Alex Reynolds of the Dark Order. So that was pretty much it for that. So on tonight's Impact Wrestling show, we had Havoc defeating Tasha Steelz. We saw a highlight of what happened last week after Impact went off the air, involving Ken Shamrock and him going after officials, security, even Sami Callihan. And it got to the point where Scott D'Amore, during a backstage segment with D'Amore and Sami Callihan, told Callihan that Ken Shamrock is suspended indefinitely for his actions last week, and that made Sammy really happy, to the point where he's like, you know what, I'm glad that he's suspended indefinitely, because he was gonna fire Shamrock for hitting him last week. So that was it for that. Then we had a backstage segment which would set up a tag team title matchup for next week. The Good Brothers will be defending against James Storm and Chris Sabin. Of course, this will be next week's episode of Impact, will be the final episode before No Surrender, where whoever are the Impact World Tag Team Champions a week from Saturday will be defending against AEW's Private Party, who earned their shot 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. Yeah, 2 weeks ago on Impact, defeating Chris Sabin and James Storm with the help of Jerry Lynn from AEW, who was in the building along with AEW President Tony Khan. So that was pretty much. So next week, Storm and Sabin will have a chance to win the Impact World Tag titles next week as they challenge the Good Brothers. Of course, the Good Brothers now will have to turn their attention before that to tomorrow night, where they team up with the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega to take on Rey Fenix, Pac, and Jon Moxley as part of that huge card for Beach Break, the special AEW or special edition of AEW Dynamite. So that was it for that. Josh Alexander defeated Madman Fulton with the Jay Driller, so a real impressive victory for Josh Alexander. I think he's pretty good, a very talented competitor. Hopefully some big things come his way in Impact Wrestling. We had a Brian Myers promo where he talked about Eddie Edwards. Eddie would come out to go after Myers. Myers came to the ring wearing an eye patch because the last 2 weeks, Fallah Bahh poked him in the eye during a match. And then last week, when he was facing Eddie Edwards, Eddie went after Myers' eye and also bit him. So Myers cut a promo about Eddie. Then Eddie Edwards comes out. He goes after Myers. Then Hernandez gets involved and goes after Eddie Edwards. And Myers tells Eddie that at No Surrender, he's not going to be facing him, but Hernandez is going to be facing Eddie Edwards. Then here comes Matt Cardona to make the save. And then a little bit later on in a little in a backstage segment a little bit later on in the show, Eddie Edwards tells Matt Cardona, "Here, let's go to the officials and let's get a match made for No Surrender, Eddie Edwards and Matt Cardona taking on Brian Myers and Hernandez." And Cardona's like, "You know what? I'm ready. I'm always ready to go. So let's do it." So it looks like that might be another huge match signed for No Surrender a week from Saturday. Then we had a segment involving um, Johnny Bravo, Johnny Swinger, Falaba, and Alicia Edwards, where they were playing like a poker game. And Swinger comes in the room and basically has Bravo pay him whatever money he earned, and that was pretty much it for that segment. Then we had Larry D, who was looking for a bit of revenge. He defeated Crazy Steve in one-on-one action. We had an interview with Trey Miguel, who made his return last week in the 8-man tag, where him, Willie Mack, Tommy Dreamer, and Impact World Champion Rich Swann were victorious over Sami Callihan, Ken Shamrock, Chris Bay, and Moose. He talked about how he wants to show people what he can do by himself. That interview would be interrupted by Sami Callihan, who tried to play mind games with Trey, saying that, "Oh, you don't realize your full potential, you don't know what you're capable of, and you need to realize that," and all that other stuff. So that was it for that. Then we had a interview segment with Triple XL that would be interrupted by Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with a K. This would lead to a match involving Triple XL and Tennille Dashwood to taking on DK, Rosemary, and Crazy Steve at No Surrender. At least that's what I got from it. Um, Jordan Grace defeated Susan. After the match, Deonna Purrazzo and Kimber Lee would attack both Jordan Grace and Jazz. And then we would see the return of a former Knockouts champion as ODB made her return to make the save. And that was pretty much it for that. Then we had a backstage segment involving Matt Hardy and Private Party, where they talked about the World Tag Title match next week involving the Good Brothers and Storm and Sabin. And Matt Hardy's like, "Don't worry about it. I have a plan. I'll take care of it. Just worry about No Surrender and worry about tomorrow night in the Battle Royal and winning and going on to become the second greatest tag team behind Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boys." He didn't say that, but he said that Private Party will go on to become the second greatest tag team. And obviously he's referencing himself and Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys, as being the greatest tag team. Then we had an AEW paid advertisement running down the card for tomorrow night. Then we had Rohit Raju defeating the X Division champion TJP, and Rohit had help from the returning Mahabali Shera. For those of you that haven't watched Impact Wrestling or maybe have forgotten, they were a part of the Desi Hit Squad with Gama, I believe it was Gama Singh or something like that, was the leader, and Rohit, and then Mahabali Shera was also a part of that group. I forget who else was a part of that. So Rohit defeated the X Division champion TJP. We had a Violent by Design promo. Eric Young addressed what happened last week, why they let Cousin Jake, walk away, and offering a chance for Cousin Jake to join their group. And then in an interview afterwards, Cousin Jake is like, "You know what? next week I'll give them their answer. So that is a huge thing to look forward to for next week. Will Cousin Jake join Violent by Design alongside Eric Young, and or I should say uh, align with Eric Young, Joe Doring, and his former tag team partner Cody Deaner, or Deaner as he's being called now. And then in the main event, it was Moose, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and Chris Bay defeating Tommy Dreamer and Rich Swann when Moose pinned the Impact World Champion Rich Swann after hitting a spear. And so that was pretty much it for Impact Wrestling. Of course, as I mentioned, Rich Swann and Tommy Dreamer will be going one-on-one for the Impact World Championship at No Surrender. Um, and they were working well together tonight as a team, but one mistake, and Moose capitalized and speared Rich Swann to pin him. So obviously, with that victory, you know that that's got to put Moose in line for to face whomever walks out of No Surrender a week from Saturday as the Impact World Champion. So, yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Overall, an okay show. I mean, a lot of things, two returns, ODB and Mahabali Shira returning. Um, and, everything else was building up to No Surrender. So, yeah, with that being said, if you guys watched tonight's episode, let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments below. This has been my Impact Wrestling recap. As always, I am Brian, and I will see you next time.